point out that the next marathon isn't inherently Yoshi focused. Actually, I thought it was time to go back to the world of Mario. More accurately, his shift into the third dimension. Thing is, between the release of Super Mario World and Super Mario 64, there was one more game released for the Super Nintendo, and that's Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. I can't just jump to the N64 yet, I gotta look at this game first. And man, do I have a lot of memories with this one.
1995 was the last year where I was strictly on the Super Nintendo before being somewhat forced to migrate into the PlayStation in 1996. And this is the last game I owned for the system before restarting my collection in the mid-2000s. Let's see, I was around 8 years old at the time, and when I wasn't reading Nintendo Power at a CVS pharmacy, my eyes were glued to Saturday morning cartoons where video game commercials were aplenty. Then there it was, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. This commercial was fucking disgusting. Some asshole who didn't know the meaning of modesty, stuffing his face to the point where he gruesomely explodes on some poor old guy. But fuck yeah, Super Mario World 2! You guys have seen my review of the first Mario World, and you guys know that I freaking love that game. I was so anxious for this title that I asked both my mom and my aunt for the game that upcoming Christmas, and then I got chewed out when I found out that I had 2 copies of the game and that one of them essentially wasted $70. Yeah, $70. You thought brand new games today costing $60 was bad? Genesis and Super Nintendo cartridges were about as expensive as crack back then, especially if they had enhancements for better graphics. Yoshi's Island had an upgraded version of the Super FX chip integrated into the cartridge, you know, that fancy new piece of technology that made games like Star Fox possible? Man, I can't believe how far we've come in just over 20 years. The Super FX chip meant that Yoshi's Island could do things that the original Mario World could not, and, well, I think it paid off immensely. This game looks amazing for a 2D game on the SNES, a humongous color palette, an art style that's both enriching and distinguished from other games in the franchise, and special effects that made the game feel larger than life at the time. We live in an era where Yoshi's Island probably wouldn't seem that amazing in the eyes of younger gamers of today, but what this game managed to accomplish then is something I think should be noted and appreciated. But what exactly is going on in this game? Yoshi's Island was the name of the first world in Super Mario World, so how do you make an entire game based off of this one location? Let's start by making this game a prequel to the original Mario World and by having Yoshi as the main protagonist. That lovable little scapegoat was an awesome addition to the Super Mario formula, so the dude getting his own game that wasn't a puzzle game or a rail shooter was only a matter of time. A stork is delivering a pair of twins to their new home in the Mushroom Kingdom and apparently has no regards to child safety as he's violently rocking both babies when flying. Then suddenly a Magic Koopa by the name of Kamek swoops in and attempts to steal the babies, but only succeeds in capturing one. The other one proceeds to fall down an unprecedented height and lands on top of a wandering Yoshi below. The baby not only survives the fall, but it turns out to be a young Mario.
This should effectively make large pits a non-issue for Mario. Motherfucker can fall over 10,000 feet as a baby and be perfectly fine, but can't fall more than 6 feet in Donkey Kong. Faker!
A map that fell alongside the baby helps Yoshi determine where he needs to go. So Yoshi rallies his brethren to reunite the baby with his kidnapped twin. Unbeknownst to Yoshi, Kamek is fully aware he only snagged one baby, and is on the trail of the green dinosaur to complete his task. Yoshi has to travel through 6 worlds, each containing 6 regular stages and 2 fortress levels. As the bulk of the game takes place on an island, every world has a somewhat tropical feel to it, but on the occasion locations can get pretty surreal, no doubt thanks to the art style. The thick outlines on various level designs and enemies make everything pop in this colorful landmass, so you can see everything clearly without getting lost in it all. Familiar faces run rampant in this island, including some returning foes from Super Mario 2 USA like Shy Guys. On top of that, we have tons of new enemies to face, including variants that'll keep you on your toes every step of the way. I thought Super Mario Bros. 3 had it bad with the amount of enemies, but I think this game shits on that and then some. The bandits, along with their variations, were among some of my most hated enemies, not just because they can steal Baby Mario from underneath their bulbous nose, but also because they don't go down on one hit most of the time. More often than not, I do what I can to pay them no mind. Fucking jerks. Yoshi can run, jump, and eat most enemies as you expect him to, but this particular breed of Yoshi is a little more advanced than the Yoshis we grew up with in Mario World. Yoshi can aim his tongue left, right, and straight up, so no one is safe from the guy's limitless curiosity whether on the ground or flying in the air. With an enemy in your mouth, you can press down on the D-pad to shit it out as an egg. Yes, I said shit it out because it clearly exits out of his ass. Yoshi can then throw those eggs at enemies or use them to activate switches, reveal hidden cloud items, or collect coins and other things from out of reach. G-rated feces tossing. Only on Nintendo. Now, on a serious note, I think egg tossing is an excellent way of attacking enemies and exploring locations far out in the distance. They're simple to aim with and amazingly satisfying to ricochet off walls for some nifty trick shots. You can carry up to 6 eggs at a time, and running dry is never a problem because there's always something you can use to refill your stock, alive or dead. In mid-air, Yoshi can perform the new ground pound by pressing down on the D-pad, flattening whatever's underneath him. It's something I don't use unless I need to access a new part of the level, Converting baddies into eggs or just jumping on them is usually enough to get the job done. Perhaps the most peculiar addition to Yoshi's arsenal is the flutter jump. If you hold the jump button down after jumping once, Yoshi will flap his arms rapidly, letting him hover for a second to gain extra distance. This can be a lifesaver at many points in the game, and if you're good with it, you can use it to stay in a high altitude to ignore danger. Yoshi's large and in charge, but this game still shares a lot of conventions with the Super Mario franchise. Your objective in every level is to get Baby Mario to the goal ring, where he's then given to the next Yoshi in the lineup. Green pipes are there to take you to different areas, and collecting 100 coins will grant you an extra life. There's no question mark blocks to bash with your head, nor are there any traditional power-ups like mushrooms or fire flowers, but there are certain fruit that Yoshi can eat that give him special abilities, such as watermelons, which can give him seeds to shoot quickly, fire breath to instantly scorch foes, and life-shattering ice breath. You get these from watermelons. Yoshi's Island ain't fucking around. These power-ups and more are often rewarded in minigames that you can discover in certain stages. They're pretty easy all things considered, but I have the shittiest luck with the balloon toss. Fucking hell! Bonuses can also be scored at the end of each stage. The goal ring is both the end of the level and a roulette wheel that'll take you to a bonus challenge if the wheel stops on an active flower head. Every stage has 5 flower heads to collect, and you score an extra life if you can find all 5. Additionally, there's also 20 red coins hidden throughout every level that you can collect for a better score when everything's tallied up at the end of the stage. Red coins can be spotted if you notice the subtle red tint on them, but the Game Boy Advance version makes them look like normal coins completely. Thanks, guys. Obtaining all 5 flowers and all 20 red coins in a stage is not something that's mandatory to complete a level, or to complete the game for that matter. You do it strictly for bragging rights and to unlock a hidden stage that tests your skills if you manage to 100% every level in that respective world. I don't usually do that, and I'll tell you why. Let's get into the subject of Baby Mario. Yoshi carries the little shit everywhere he goes, out in the open with nothing but the diaper on his ass. If Yoshi takes a hit, Baby Mario flies off, becomes encapsulated in a magic bubble, and begins to cry his ass off until Yoshi manages to recover him with a well-aimed tongue licking. When Baby Mario is thrown off of Yoshi, you have a certain amount of time to rescue him before Kamek's lackeys scoop him up and cause Yoshi to lose a life. By default, your timer is set to 10 seconds, but you can increase it by either collecting these little star bits found in clouds or in other places, or by running into a checkpoint which gives Yoshi an additional 10 seconds, just like that. The timer maxes out at 30 seconds, giving you more time to retrieve the baby. Now here's the real ball flicker. The star count is also tallied at the end of the level, and if you want a perfect score, that son of a bitch has to stay at 30 seconds. So you can't afford to get hit too many times, or else you won't have enough star bits to reach the total score of 100. Keeping the star count at 30 is the hardest fucking part of the game for me, when I feel like achieving 100%. Again, a perfect score isn't needed to reach the end. There's no additional ending you unlock, it's just something you do when you hate yourself. I'm sure it's something I can do with enough patience and practice, but I just don't feel up to it, especially in World 2 and beyond. There's a shitload of things trying to kill Yoshi in this game, and it only takes a simple tap to make Yoshi lose his grip on that damn baby. You know, if it weren't for the ball and chain that is Baby Mario, Yoshi would be goddamn near indestructible. He can take as many hits as he pleases when Baby Mario isn't on his back, bearing pits, spikes, and lava, but no, we gotta make sure the baby's safe, and that crying, oh man, that crying. It's loud, it's obnoxious, and it was programmed that way on purpose to make sure rescuing him was the top priority. Yoshi's Island is a fairly challenging game throughout with this deceivingly tricky platforming at times. When it comes to defending the baby though, or when you want to go for that perfect score, that's when things get a little— oh god! Poochie, for fuck's sake, stay still! Oh! Oh shit! Fish! Yeah, just give me a minute. Gotta find those red coins. Holy shit, how in the hell did— ow, you fucking— come here, you! Yeah, now to feast on your converted innards! Oh, it's so fucking delicious! God damn it, Poochie! Oh, mother of God, make it stop! Rest assured, Yoshi's Island isn't balls to the walls hard, but it's easy for it to sneak up on you with its colorful and cute looking exterior. Not a fan of all the levels though. There are stages that go on just a far bit longer than they should, and there's some sequences that involve nothing but Yoshi waiting around until the proper time, like this part in the fortress level in World 6-4. I always liked how this lava looked in terms of animation, but this trip is fucking boring. At points, Yoshi needs to utilize temporary transformations, and some of them are not exactly the best to control, like the mole form or the helicopter when traveling at high speeds. Gratefully, the boss fights make up for even the most bleak of obstacles. Kamek has this tendency of taking a normal enemy, sprinkling a little magic dust on it, which makes it larger, and for some reason he taps into his inner Jeff Goldblum in World 5-8. you will never enter the Koopa Kingdom. You would think such a simple concept would equate to simple bosses, but I think these are some of the most unique boss fights we've faced so far, and I love just about every single one of them. I think my favorite would have to be the battle inside the frog's stomach. Look at that face Yoshi makes when he exits the frog after winning. That's the kind of look that's seen some shit. I played plenty of Mario games in the early and mid-90s, and though I love Super Mario World, I oddly have more memories with this one. This game was not only something to look forward to after school, but it was an adventure that left many imprints on me. There's details I can't help but smile at when I see them, like when I stop this swinging ghosting with an egg toss, and that look it makes right after that just screams, "Hey man, not cool." Every time I finished what I considered to be a tough level, I would get that joyous skull music at the end, even better if I scored a bonus challenge, and every now and then the game would throw me a bone. Yeah. I remember back when I first got to Hookbill, the giant red Koopa Troopa at the end of World 4, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to beat him. So you know what? I asked my mom, hey, how would you defeat a giant turtle? And she told me, why don't you try stomping on its stomach? And what do you know, that's what you gotta do. That's the first time I ever asked my parents for video game advice, and because it just so happened to be the correct strategy, is a memory I have Yoshi's Island to thank for. Yoshi's Island also managed at times to scare the shit out of my 8-year-old self. The giant fish that can swallow you whole in World 3, that single chain chomp in World 5-4 that lunges directly at the player, ooh, that one could especially go fuck itself. This hint box telling me in huge letters to run away very fast from something I couldn't see just yet, and I'll never forget the first time I touched a fuzzy.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
One time, I can't remember if it was my second or third playthrough, I discovered a hidden bonus room in World 3-1 where I can score extra lives easily. Thinking it was something I could abuse, I tried to go back to the bonus room, and to my surprise and utter horror, I suddenly found myself extremely high in the sky in an unknown area. I fluttered exhaustively trying to stay alive, and then unexpectedly I was back in the first level of the game. I don't know how the hell it happened, I never attempted to go to that bonus room ever again until this review, but shit like that makes you remember a video game. I'll be honest, I have a bit of a nostalgic bias with Yoshi's Island. I'm not saying it isn't a great game. Oh no, it's a fantastic game. You know, push aside the Super FX chip and the colorful graphics, and you still have a perfectly capable 2D platformer that has wonderful controls, great mechanics in the form of egg tossing and flutter jumping, and it's jam-packed with memorable moments. You know, the title Super Mario World 2 was probably added to sell units, seeing as this game is, well, a little different from its predecessor. But if you were to ask me, I think this was a worthy follow-up, and you should give it a look. It was also given a re-release for the Game Boy Advance, as I mentioned earlier, where the colors are a little more washed out and the sound quality isn't exactly comparable to the SNES version, as you would expect from a Game Boy Advance port. But it's still the same Yoshi's Island I know and love. Now, why is this the version you can download on the Wii U's Virtual Console instead of the Super Nintendo original is a riddle I can't even begin to solve, but if you don't want to shell out the money for a SNES and a Yoshi's Island cartridge, well, you at least have an option.
But now it's time for the real meat of the marathon to begin. In 1996, Nintendo made the shift into 3D with the Nintendo 64, and they had a new Mario game ready at launch. So when we meet up next time, we're looking at Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64. With all that said, thank you guys for watching, have yourselves a great night, and take care.